morning, Canada. Welcome back to another episode of Crush Pure. Today is November 3rd, 2025. Where's time going, man? Where's time going? I feel like the last time I streamed was October 29th or October 30th or something. I have no idea where time is going. But yeah, I'm back from vacation. I'm wearing pants. I'm actually wearing pants. I got jeans. I got jeans on. We're good. It's colder. I can't be wearing shorts. This ain't Hawaii, dude. This ain't Hawaii no more. But I am still wearing sandals because that's what I do. Well, Crocs. I evolved, I guess. I don't know why I still got these on. Sorry. Those aren't nothing. Those. I know there's probably going to be a lot of people in here. I know exactly the answer that people are going to be saying. No, I don't trust it. I don't trust it at all. But these are not regular glasses. They're not prescription. They're the kind of sunglasses. But I don't know if you could see the corners here. It's the Meta Ray-Ban things. So on a trip to Hawaii or like any tropical or just like any vacation trip at all, they start to dim. They start to dim in the transitional. They start to dim when sunlight is on them. So that's pretty cool. And then you can take photos and videos with them. You can take photos and videos with these things. So I guess it can be a little weird because it's like incognito, but it lights up. There's like a bright white light when you're taking a video and stuff. So it's not like pervy, but yeah, kind of neat to just walk around like Hawaii and stuff and just like take photos and videos, like me and my family having memories and stuff. And yeah, it was a great time. I don't have any videos pulled up today, any photos pulled up today. I think I'm jet lagged. I think I'm very much jet lagged. My body is wrecked because we flew overnight. Our flight was at like 9:30 at night on Friday. I've lost a day of my life. Our flight was leaving Maui 9:30 at night with two kids under 3. My daughter's 3. My son's like 1 and a bit. And anyone who has kids is going to know, oh shit, unless they slept, that didn't go good. And no, they didn't sleep. So no, that didn't go good. And we didn't sleep at all on a red eye. My wife and I. It was absolutely miserable. And I'm so sorry to everybody that was on the same plane as us. And then we had a layover in Edmonton, and I'm so sorry to everybody that was around us. And then we flew from Edmonton to Vancouver Island, and I'm so sorry for everybody that was on the same plane as us again. It's bad. Kids are crazy. Kids are crazy. But enough about what's going on with my life. Hope everyone has had a good past couple of weeks. I've been in and out of it. In and out. I've tried to stay in the loop. I've tried to make the videos and streams. And I've had a good amount of help from, people in my circle and stuff like that have been trying to keep me up to date and in the loop. But I'm back now, and it seems like it's very good timing to be back because this is budget week. And the reason why this stream is called what it is, Pierre Poilievre calls an election, is because that's exactly what's happening. Tomorrow, November 4th, the budget is going to be tabled, and it's the first time a budget in Canada has been tabled in just over 18 months. You remember last year when Chrystia Freeland was supposed to table a budget and she didn't? She actually resigned right around, I think it was around this time last year. Freeland's like, nah, I'm not doing this. Goodbye. And then she just walked out and was like, I'm done with Trudeau. I'm done with all this. And then she ran for prime minister and it didn't work. And now she's the envoy to Ukraine and she's in the shadows, no longer in the public eye, and bye-bye. Because she didn't want to announce to Canadians that despite liberal promises of fixing the budget, it's going to get worse. And that's what we're faced with in just about 24 hours from now. So here's what's going to happen. Here's what could happen. Here's what's likely to happen. And here's what I think is going to happen. What's at stake is a liberal budget. We've been faced with $40 and $60 billion deficits every year with Justin Trudeau. And now they brought in the fixer, right? The guy that can throw the curveballs, the changeups, the sliders. We're riding the coattails of the World Series, obviously. Sorry about that, Jays. But they brought in this messiah, the banking guy, the guy who's good with the numbers. So he's the Bank of Canada governor, the Bank of England governor. Okay, now he's the prime minister, and he's supposed to be good with numbers. So he's supposed to be getting us out of a massive deficit. But the problem is that he doesn't plan on doing that, at least not yet. And so whatever Justin Trudeau's deficit was, or 40 or 60 billion dollars, that's like 2 quarters for Carney. Carney's planning potentially on 80 or $100 billion deficit in 24 hours. That's what's going to be announced. So you've probably heard the Liberals say a lot of, well, if the Conservatives don't support the budget, then they're going to be forcing a Christmas election. So what does that mean? Okay. So if a budget gets passed, if somehow the Liberals vote in favor of their own budget, the Conservatives will obviously by default not vote for the budget. Now we're faced with an imbalance. So it's losing because it's not winning. So he has to be able to get a certain amount of votes for the budget to pass. And if that doesn't happen, then we're faced with a couple different possibilities. If the budget doesn't pass, there's 2 possibilities, if I'm not mistaken. One, this is my favorite. If the budget doesn't pass, one of the 2 possibilities is the current sitting prime minister hands over prime ministerialship, or whatever it's called, to the sitting leader of the opposition. So in layman's terms, Mark Carney can't drive the car, so he gives the keys to Pierre Poilievre. Now, I don't see that happening, not in a million years. So the second option is for a federal election to be called. And that is figured out in within 48 hours. So literally by this week, we'll know if we are heading into a election in the next 60-ish days, possibly right before Christmas or right after Christmas or during Christmas. Who knows? So those are the kind of different outcomes. Now, here's where it gets a little trickier. The Liberals don't have enough votes to be able to pass it themselves. The Bloc doesn't have enough votes to be able to block it themselves, nor do the Conservatives. So all of this falls onto the lap of the NDP, which we're all familiar with in Canada because we just had a multi-year Liberal and NDP coalition. Remember Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau. But the problem with the NDP right now is they don't have a leader. There's no capitaine to steer the ship. They're leaderless and they're broke. They actually lost not only more seats in the last election, but they lost their official party status. So we can get into what that means, but just in simple terms, because I like simple terms, it means that they're not really recognized as a proper party in Canada, so they don't get proper bank loans. The banks, the Canadian banks, will give loans to political parties if they qualify for it. You have to be able to win a bunch of votes and have actual pull in the country, like a certain threshold, to be able to qualify for bank loans, or else you would identify as a political party. I would identify as a political party, and we'd be taking up some juicy ass bank loans with 2.25% interest rates or whatever the hell the Bank of Canada is offering. But that's not the case anymore with the NDP. The NDP's lost their official party status. They can't really take money out. They got no money. They're broke. So which way is the NDP going to vote? For Carney or for Pierre? Well, much like roulette, there's 3 options, right? There's 3 options. There's red, there's black, and then there's the zeros. And in this case, the NDP could, and for their own party, they probably would abstain from voting. Now, if they abstain from voting, it means that the Liberals would be able to basically have their budget passed because there wouldn't be enough to block it. And if the budget gets passed, there's no election, life resumes, and then we spend. So all of this falls onto the NDP once again. So 2 options are going to come of tomorrow. Just to recap for those that are trickling in right now. One, the budget gets shot down and we go into an election. Or two, the budget passes, likely because the NDP either A, says yes, we support it, or B, we abstain from voting, which would give them the ability to pass the budget. So election or budget pass, that's what we're faced with tomorrow. Not very good. It's not very good. And there's very big rumors right now that Mark Carney wants to purposely fail the budget and make a terrible budget, right? So instead of it being 40 or 60 billion dollars like we're used to, make it like 130 billion dollars to push other parties to vote an election. Because right now, let's be honest, the state of Canada is not about Pierre Poilievre versus Mark Carney. It's not about Mark Carney. You may feel that way, but like the overall consensus in Canada, that doesn't matter. And it's not like, oh, Pierre is like pushing immigration. It doesn't matter. Immigration doesn't matter. The budget, that's going to be the triggering factor for what matters next. But truthfully and honestly, the thing that matters the most right now in Canada is Trump. Trump matters the most in Canada. And I hate to admit it. I hate to say it because I don't see it as a threat. But the majority of Canadians, you may or may not be included in this, view Trump as the biggest issue / threat to Canada. So if Mark Carney throws out a ridiculous budget that he knows the NDP won't abstain from, they'll have to vote it down. The Bloc will have to vote it down. The Conservatives are obviously going to vote it down twice over. That's going to trigger an election. And unfortunately, regardless of how many interviews Pierre does right now, the reality, to quote a liberal, the reality of the situation is that when we look at fear mongering in this country, the Conservatives are not as good as the Liberals when it comes to fear mongering. That's just what it is, right? The Liberals literally overturned a election with 2 or 3 months of runway because they came out and said that Pierre is like Trump and Trump is bad. So we have a Canadian version of Trump and we have the real Trump to worry about. Vote for us or Trump is going to literally conquer us. And people fell for it. And still to this day, people are like falling for it. You're not going to see an American invasion in Canada. That's just not going to happen, no matter like how crazy of propaganda CBC and CTV like to push out there. But if an election happens, as much as we would like Pierre, I can jump back on the Pierre train and go, oh, Pierre, go Conservatives, woohoo, vote Conservatives, because the other option is anti-Trump rhetoric again, the Liberals, and tensions are higher than ever right now between Canada and America. We don't have a trade deal. We don't have trade talks, nothing. And so you have to ask yourself this, like, if we had an election, I know you have certain feelings and you have your bubble, just like I have my own bubble, my own bias, the people I talk to, the routine that I have, the things that I do, how I choose to spend my time, right? That all contributes to like my worldview. And the past few years have been like very like conservative. Like everyone that I was like talking to pretty much on a daily, weekly, monthly basis was like, yeah, Pierre, like fuck Trudeau, fuck Carney. Like we got to get to that. But how does Canada feel right now? How does the average Canadian feel right now? You and me obviously know that Carney sucks, that the Liberals suck, that they failed, that Carney failed with his elbows up BS, right? There was no deal. Their relationship is very weird. They push this narrative of, America bad and Canada just gets trampled. But people fall for it. That's the thing. They fell for it several months ago with the federal election. And if we run into another election, they might fall for it again. So I just want to pass a question off to you before we actually get into like the news and stuff. If there was an election, truthfully, honestly, aside from your like social media bubble, the YouTube videos that you may or may not watch, knowing how Canadians vote, knowing the outcome of the last election, knowing the most important issues right now, it's not immigration. It should be, but it's not. It's not housing crisis. It should be, but it's not. It's not the drug crisis. It's not the fentanyl crisis. It's not the homelessness. It should be, but it's not. It's Trump. who do you think is going to win an election if it happens in 7 days from now? Which I don't think an election would happen that quickly, but if it did, if there was an election in 7 days or 30 days from now, knowing what we've seen over the past 6 months, 7 months in this country, which party do you think would win more seats? I'm going to pass that question off to you, and we're going to get into this video. All right. Starting off with the fact that Mark Carney apologized. Mark Carney apologized to Donald Trump for Doug Ford's ad campaign. Let's have a look.
Hi, Prime Minister. Mackenzie Gray with Global News. Did you apologize to Donald Trump about Ontario's anti-tariff act?
I did apologize to the president. The president was offended by the act, or by the ad rather, and it's not something I would have done, which is to put in place that advertisement, and so I apologize to him. I'm the one who is responsible in my role as Prime Minister for the relationship with the President of the United States, and the federal government is responsible for the foreign relationship with the U.S. government. So things happen. We take the good with the bad, and I apologize to him.
He viewed the ad with you in advance of it going to air. Since you're the person that's solely responsible for negotiations, did you inform Mr. Ford that this is something that you do not want to go forward with?
Yes.
And what came of that?
Well, you saw what came of it.
You told Doug Ford that he shouldn't air the ad. My question then, the fact that Premier Ford went ahead with the ad, the fact that the Premier of BC wants to put out an ad, the fact that the Premier of Manitoba, Wabigoon, supports Doug Ford's ad, does this show that there is division within Team Canada, that the premiers don't trust you to negotiate?
We have to understand what Team Canada actually is. Team Canada is not, yay, Canada. Team Canada is anti-Team America. Team Canada's chant is screw you, USA. Screw you, USA. That's what Team Canada actually means and stands for in this country, in this context of politics. That's weird. Canada's identity is not, and nationalism is not proud to be Canadian. It's proud not to be American, which is why you're seeing so much narrative, so much news, so much propaganda that's like, hey, screw you, USA, and screw you, Trump, because you may or may not feel this way, but the majority of voters in Canada do feel this way, unfortunately. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I think there is, well, the individuals can speak for themselves, and you know they're practiced in speaking for themselves, and they will speak for themselves. There are other premiers who have a different view in terms of the utility of those ads, and you can speak to them. I'll repeat what the situation is with those who actually have been talking with the Americans and have been negotiating with the Americans. That we start from this position, which it does bear remembering that we are in a position where 85% of our trade is tariff-free. We, like every other country in the world, okay? Every other country in the world has issues if they produce any of the following: steel, aluminum, automobiles, pharmaceuticals, forest products, with 232, so-called 232 tariffs in the United States. And so that's what we're having discussions with, or that's what we were having discussions with with the Americans. That's where we're negotiating. We were making progress. Those talks are suspended. That's the situation at present. And it has a couple of implications. One of the core implications is it absolutely validates the strategy we have had from day one, which is to focus on the things we can control. Yes, negotiate with the United States. Of course, that's important. But building Canada at home, which is what this budget is going to do. With generational investments, the scale of investment that this country has never seen before, that's what this budget is looking to unlock, and to be building new partnerships with countries around the world. And there is no better place to do that than in the fastest growing part of the world that represents 60% of the global economy. We can adjust for the American component of that, but there's everyone else. So if I take it down to a little more than 40% of the global economy, ex the United States. And those are the discussions we're having. And you can see the traction we're getting. Free trade deal with Indonesia, free trade talks now launched with Philippines and Thailand, two of our largest. We already have free trade through something called the CPTPP with a number of those other economies. A turning point in our relationship with China. Progress which we have been making with India. Not part of these meetings, so I didn't meet directly with Prime Minister Modi here. The foreign minister, other ministers have been meeting with India. That's what we're doing to build our strength at home first and foremost, build these partnerships abroad, reduce our reliance on the United States. It can't happen overnight, but we're moving very fast.
And that reliance off of the United States, that doesn't mean that we're relying less on the United States to be more independent. Notice how they never say that, right? Relying less off of America to move off of American dependence does not equate to Canada standing on its own 2 feet. Notice how that's never mentioned. Never mentioned. Removing Canada off of American dependence means removing that dependence elsewhere. It's a cup, right? That's what this is. You have a cup of water, okay? It's full of water. If you're pouring it out of the American cup, are you pouring it into your own bowl? No. You're pouring it into other cups. In this case, it's Asia. That's why Carney is so fixated on working on brushing better ties with Xi Jinping and China. And you know what? There are people out there in Canada. There are people that exist in Canada that literally say online, because of these words and this rhetoric being backed by social media, you have actual people, could be your parents, could be your siblings, could be your teachers, could be your spouse. There's people in Canada that think that Canada would be better off of working closer with China than with America because of Trump. And that rhetoric gets backed by our mainstream media, so people believe it. Because when it comes off of CBC and CTV, all of a sudden now it's more legitimized, at least through the lens of progressive liberals. And there's a lot of them in Canada. And so if the media is saying, hey, it's good that we're strengthening our ties with China, who we've caught, not accused, we've caught with actual election interference in this country. But yeah, they're better, right? They're trying to steal from us. They're completely copying everything that the West does, that North America does. They're constantly trying to potentially take over Taiwan. Like, China is not necessarily bad as in like the Taliban bad, but they're certainly not as good as our neighbors, the United States of America. But for some reason, Canada wants to be closer with China than with the United States. That like angers me a little bit. It angers me a little bit. I don't know. Am I missing something? Do I have the right to feel this way? Do you? Well, of course I have the right to feel this way, but do you also feel this way? Because I don't see this as a win for Canada by Canada being closer and better with China. I just don't. I feel like that's a little dangerous.
With respect, Prime Minister, the United States makes up more than 75% of our trade.
I'm well aware of that, yeah.
Yes. You apologized to Donald Trump. He's not going back to the table. He has no interest. So what are you doing? What is your next move, or are you close to striking out?
Very clever. No, I just fouled one off. The count is full, but we're battling like the Jays. The next move is on Tuesday. The next move is the budget. It's the budget for this time. The budget the country needs. The budget that gives us control. See, this is one of the things. we can spend our time watching Truth Social, worrying about the reactions of individual things. We are staying calm, okay? We're focusing on what we can control, which first and foremost is how we build at home. And secondly, with our negotiations with the U.S., when they're on, when they come back on, is what's in the best interest of Canada. Not emotional, what's in the best interest of Canada. They will only agree, the Americans will only agree, as is the case in any trade negotiation, something that also is in the U.S. interest. There are a number of things where those interests align. And we'll wait until they're ready.
Oh my goodness. By the way, this is called the Carney curse, right? Mark Carney went and met with Connor McDavid and the rest of the Edmonton Oilers during their playoffs run, and then they lost. And then Mark Carney went and met with the Jays during the World Series, and they lost. I'm just saying, if we're looking at sports objectively as numbers and statistics, the Carney curse is very real. Very, 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 very real. Now we got to take a look at what's going on with mainstream media, because mainstream media is pushing a very dangerous narrative. And that narrative is the fact that Pierre is completely screwed. There's nothing he can do. Of course, that's the narrative, right? Here we go.
I want to bring in CTV News political commentator Scott Reed now with more. Scott, good morning to you. So what are you expecting tomorrow?
Well, just picking up on this story you just ran, whether it's big spending and big investments or efforts to cut back spending, I think the answer is yes. We're going to get both. And that's going to demonstrate both the strength and the vulnerability of this first Carney budget, because the Prime Minister is going to try to pull off sort of a historic transfer. He's going to say, I'm going to spend less on the day-to-day business of government. So we're going to cut back on all those grants and contributions that go to various things that we fund. We're going to cut back on the number of staff in the federal public service. We're going to cut back on contracts and other expenditures in the public service so that we can take that money and apply it to things that the Prime Minister deems to be critical to future growth, like massive infrastructure, energy projects. Think 1950s style spending on things like highways and energy infrastructure and ports. I think that's what we're going to see. Now, will Canadians say, all right, well, that's the kind of spending I can get behind? Or will they say, sorry, that's going to inflate the deficit, and I'm concerned?
The other fact,
we can't afford more spending. Like, that's the thing, is we're not bringing in record level of investments, and we're not bringing in hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars of investments. Like, Canada's very much suffering, and we're being propped up by just synthetic injections of falsehoods and copium by our government. They're just passing the recession along further and further and further. And eventually when the bubble pops, it's going to be really, really bad.
fascinating aspect to all of this, Scott, is whether or not this bill will pass. Are the Liberals seriously concerned that there will or will not be enough support for this budget, and we could be looking at an election in the offing?
Well, to be unconcerned is to be unprepared. So they're obviously concerned. It's a minority parliament. Every opposition party has rushed to the microphone to say they won't be supporting the government for one reason or another. That does make it challenging. And accidents happen, even in an environment where the public doesn't want an election, where none of the parties really want an election. You can still bump your way into an election, like we saw way back in 1979 with Joe Clark. I don't think there's going to be an election. I don't think the budget will fail. I think at the end of the day, there are enough members of parliament from various opposition parties can abstain or go missing, be absent for the vote, that it will squeak by. But I don't think you're going to see necessarily one of the parties say, all right, we're full bore with the Prime Minister on this. I do think it's going to be a game of loose fish.
You don't think the Conservatives want an election, Scott?
I don't think the Conservatives want an election. They shouldn't want an election if they're wise. And the reason for it is twofold. First, we haven't seen the worst of what's to come. The economy could very well weaken. Trump's tariffs could take a bigger, deeper bite out of our jobs, out of our growth. And you would think the Conservatives want to wait to see that Mark Carney wears some of that strain before they go to the voters. The second reason is their leader is not as popular as the Prime Minister. And that's a real challenge for them, because a snap election will put a lot of pressure on the opposition. It will inevitably be round two of the mano-a-mano heavyweight battle between Carney and Poilievre. And you don't want to fight that with one arm tied behind your back. And in terms of public opinion, Poilievre has one arm tied behind his back right now.
Scott Reed for us this morning. Scott is CTV.
That's quite the analysis. That is quite the analysis by what looks to be like school shooter. Doesn't he always look so angry? Just like, just always so freaking angry. There is a lot of trickiness to the situation right now with Canada and America. And you have to be able to put things into context as a freaking analyst on CTV. The reason why Carney's popularity is what it is right now is because he is promising to attack Donald Trump, which a lot of Canadians seem to like. And when that backfires, then he goes, hey, this is why we can't trust the United States, because look at what they're doing to us. So he's literally causing the problem and then selling the solution. It's quite literally poetic to watch. And by political standards, it's like an art form, right, of gaslighting an entire nation. And the Liberals are quite good at doing that. Now, I don't mean good as in like morally like the good people. I just mean like if the standard is winning at by any means necessary, include deception, include lying, include gaslighting, include propaganda, then they're good at politicking, I suppose. It's a greasy game, and the Liberals are really showing their true colors time and time and time again. And I don't know how people keep falling for it. They get told one day that, yeah, we need to hit Trump where it hurts. And then we get retaliated against. Oh, this is why we can't trust them. This is why we can't trust them. Look what they do to us. You just said you wanted to hit them. You hit them, and now they hit back, and all of a sudden they can't trust us. It reminds me of those grocery store videos during COVID with like the Karens and stuff like that, just freaking out in public. Kind of reminds me of that. That literally captures Liberals so well. Anyways, I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments about that. Do you think that Pierre can navigate this properly and somehow win over the people that are afraid of America and don't trust America? Let me know what you guys think. We're going to move on to our finance minister, our new Chrystia Freeland, François-Philippe Champagne, as he touts the first Carney budget as a generational shift. You can't make this up. Let's have a look.
We begin with the start of a huge week in Ottawa with the first federal budget in 18 months rolling out tomorrow in the face of pressures from Donald Trump's trade war as well as Canadians' cost of living concerns. Prime Minister Mark Carney has long indicated his first budget will make major investments, but he also says there will be tough choices and even some cuts. A short time ago, we saw a long-standing pre-budget tradition. The federal finance minister went to get some new footwear, and in a pre-budget signal, he went to a family-run business.
They're really well known for their cowboy boots, but they've also contributed to make footwear for armed forces, Army cadets, and RCMP officers. And I thought there was something emblematic when we say build, empower, and protect. This is something about that. You know, they're built here. They're made also to protect, because they serve for our military folks, and at the same time empowering people.
François-Philippe Champagne's riding is home to that rodeo and boot shoemaker. So the minister decided to pay a visit and help make some shoes while he was there. CBC News Network is the place to be, of course, for the budget, because we will have live coverage of it beginning tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern. With all of that, I want to head over to the CBC's Janice McGregor. She's leading off our coverage, this pre-budget coverage, because, of course, we know it all gets underway tomorrow afternoon. What did we hear today, Janice, from the finance minister ahead of the budget? Because he didn't just buy shoes. He talked a lot to reporters, too.
Yeah, and he was in a boot factory in St. Tit's, which just, bring on the cowboy metaphors. Yeah, giddy up for a big news week. Look, things have been a bit of a Wild West on the economic front. It is not clear what rules are still applying in this trade war. It is not clear who the sheriff is enforcing any rules anymore. And if you are Canada, you are along for the ride, barely trying to sort of hang on and get to the end of this. So where does that leave François-Philippe Champagne and his first budget here? Look, after an election, it is typical for a government's first budget to sort of pretty close to an election platform. And if you look at the series of pre-budget announcements that we've seen from the Carney government, really going back to the summer, you do see them kind of stepping through the various sort of things that they told Canadians they would do. Billions more in military investment, police investment, border investment, things to, fund major infrastructure projects to sort of get housing construction in this country going, spending strategically on industries that have been hit very hard by the ongoing trade war with the Trump administration in the United States. And when asked by reporters what people should be looking for in this budget tomorrow, Champagne seemed to suggest it is going to be kind of more in that vein. Take a listen.
This is going to be an investment budget, the kind of budget that you will remember, because there will be no surprises. Canadians have asked us to build big, bold things. They expect us to do things differently. So we're going to make generational investments that will build our country. We're moving from reliance to resilience, from uncertainty to prosperity. We're going to do the kind of things that will make this country stronger. And everyone will see themselves in that budget. So that's why I would expect the opposition parties to be supportive.
So everyone, he says, is going to see themselves in this budget. We are going to see him in some black shoes, not cowboy boots, tomorrow. But what we're really wondering is whether the story will actually be about a different color, red, as in red ink. Because what we don't know is how the Liberals are proposing to make all these investments, while also, as the Prime Minister has promised, spending less. They have set a mark of within 3 years getting to a point where the government revenues are lining up equal, roughly anyway, with the day-to-day operating expenses of this government. And yet, the Liberals haven't talked about any particular increase in government revenues in the form of tax cuts. On the tariff front even, we know that actually the revenue from that has been going down since Canada rolled back some of its retaliation and gave new exemptions in recent months. So where is your, over time balanced budget going to come from? You're hoping for economic growth, but that is not what the bigger picture economic indicators are pointing towards. And, the other thing that's a little bit cowboy here is heading into this budget, without being clear that you've corralled the votes you're going to need from the opposition side of the House of Commons to get this thing passed. Opposition leader Pierre Poilievre over the weekend, of course, no one's seen it yet, but he was making it clear that he doesn't think it's the job of Conservatives to help enable Liberal policies. We know the Liberals as recently.
Pierre put out a costed platform during the federal election, and his budget, his vision for Canada, his party's vision for Canada was very clear, right? And it ended with, it was actually very good numbers. I read it on a live stream on the channel. It's the nerdiest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Nerdier than going to a library. I read a political costed platform. Oh my goodness. And it was actually half decent. It was half decent. And I just have a really bad feeling about what this Liberal budget is going to be. Because if it's anywhere near where Pierre Poilievre put his first year deficit at, then Pierre, morally almost has to vote for it, because the numbers would be similar. But I don't think it will be. And that's the concern, is if it's so much debt, so much spending, then we're probably gonna be faced with an election, right? Unless the NDP votes for the budget, or they abstain from voting or something like that. But oh my goodness, all the things that we thought we would be fixing with the last election, right? We thought that we would fix the homelessness, thought that we'd fix the housing crisis, thought that we'd fix the drug crisis. Nope, not happening. Not happening yet in Canada.
As last week, we're meeting one of the demands that the Bloc Québécois had brought forward about cracking down on tax fraud in the trucking industry, but they have, I think, 17 other budget demands that I'm not sure Champagne is going to be dealing with tomorrow. The Bloc has signaled that they will vote as a bloc. They're not going to let any of their 22 MPs be sort of picked off. They'll either be all one way or all another. New Democrats, for now, are saying that they want to see the budget before they decide what to do, which means that we all could be in for a bit of a ride as the week goes on.
And we know, of course, Janice, too, trade is this overarching theme with any sort of economic discussion in this country, including the budget. And while we wait for the details of the budget to come out tomorrow afternoon, we know that 3 of Carney's ministers are actually out west in BC today for a so-called softwood summit. How does that factor into tomorrow's budget then?
Well, we already know the amount of money that's going to be earmarked for the lumber industry in the budget because, again, this is one of these pre-budget announcements that was unveiled earlier. Back in August, $1.2 billion, a mix of loan guarantees for businesses in the sector, but also some funding to help upgrade existing mills and find some new markets for Canadian lumber internationally. This was help that a lumber producer that spoke with our colleague Rosemary Barton yesterday said was absolutely needed, but also now needs to be expedited.
The dust will settle at some point. I feel confident about that. We're not sure when. In fact, we've been warned very clearly by some federal ministers that don't expect a quick solution here. This is going to take some time. So what we're looking for is actually help. We need financial help during that time. That has to be accelerated. It has to be, we have to understand how we can get to it as quickly as possible. That'd be on the business side, but that'd be also on our employees' side as well. So we've got to make sure that there's that financial help to make sure there is an industry on the other end of this crisis that we're in.
Here's the thing about rolling out a big aid package for this sector, however. This announcement back in August set up another wave of complaints from the U.S. Lumber Coalition about unfair subsidization of the industry in Canada. They successfully lobbied the Trump administration to agree with them that this is a trade issue, and then more tariffs were piled onto Canada's lumber industry this fall as a result. They are in a vicious cycle here where any new wave of federal help results in more fodder for the ongoing trade war. Both levels of government in calling this summit want to demonstrate that they're approaching this with some urgency and in full collaboration. But the fact is that there are no easy solutions here. So when we hear them speak at about 10:30 local time in Vancouver a couple hours from now, be interesting to see if there's any new fixes on the table or whether this was just a sense of gathering very senior ministers together to help raise the visibility of the issue and the government's engagement on the issue.
Janice, thanks for this.
Oh my goodness. I'm just so worried that in 48 hours, we're going to have a massive like $100 billion deficit and it's going to trigger an election because people aren't going to want to support it. Oh my goodness, man. Anyways, I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Also, it'd be super awesome if you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Since we were just talking about our new Freeland of Canada, our new finance minister, this clip here just emerged. Let's take a look at what he said to reporters.
Well, listen, this is going to be an investment budget, the kind of budget that you will remember, because that's there will be no surprises. Canadians have asked us to build big, bold things. They expect us to do things differently. So we're going to make generational investments that will build our country. We're moving from reliance to resilience, from uncertainty to prosperity. We're going to do the kind of things that will make this country stronger, and everyone will see themselves in that budget. So that's why I would expect the opposition parties to be supportive, because there is something for every Canadian in that budget. This is a budget that talks to everyday Canadian, the workers that you've seen here, the member of our armed forces, the innovators, the entrepreneurs, the families in Canada, and that's the kind of budget we need to meet the moment and tomorrow, as Canadians will meet the moment. This is a unique moment in our nation's history, and we need to meet the moment. We're going to meet it together.
That's scary, man. The way he talks about this is posturing. This is getting people prepared for for an election. That's my interpretation of this. I don't like it. It makes me feel like we're just about on the verge of an election. But here's what Pierre Poilievre recently said to reporters about an affordable budget for an affordable life.
That is the age range of my children. And let us be clear, this is not a victimless crime. The monsters who look at this material create a profit motive for literally hundreds of kids to be tortured and humiliated in videos that may circulate for the rest of their lives. They will never recover from this trauma. And yet, these two perverts are going to get out of jail in a year and 9 months. Frankly, those sentences were far too low. And now the court says that some other users of child pornography should be able to get out in less than that time. This is insane. It's nuts. And quite frankly, should Canadians make me their prime minister, I will use the notwithstanding clause, and I will bring in mandatory prison sentences for users of child porn that are far higher than the ones that were already in place. In other words, the mandatory minimums I will institute using the Charter of Rights and Freedoms will be far, far tougher than the ones the court just shut down. And finally, I will do that to uphold the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, because those hundreds of kids, they have charter rights. And I'm more worried about the charter rights of our children than I'm about these perverts and pedophiles.
Yeah, you can tell he's angry about this. Rightfully so. It boils my blood, man. Makes me want to just start punching these people in the face, right? These people that are offenders like that. Just makes me freaking angry. So angry. What also makes people angry is this interview with Rosemary Barton and Pierre Poilievre. I didn't get to catch the whole thing, but I got this clip ready for you.
Beef. It seems like everywhere Mark Carney goes with these grand meetings and photo ops, we end up with more tariffs. His failures abroad are costing us at home.
He met with the Chinese president, though, and they made a decision that their officials were going to get together and try and solve the trade irritants. He is trying to make some progress. No, you don't see those things as a bit of progress?
What progress? Can you name one tariff line that he's reduced abroad?
Not at this stage, no.
Not
just one.
He's
just
had 7
one.
months. So what would he's been on 20 trips.
What would you like to see him do then? What do you think is the missing?
Win. Why is that so hard for liberal and propaganda media to understand? What do we expect from our leader? We expect him to win. If you say you're going to win, we expect you to win. If Canadians elect you, it's because we wanted to elect somehow people elected what they thought was a winner. How many times do you have to be proven that this guy's a loser, that Carney's a loser, and can't get good deals, can't even put a number? Like, how much money is Canada making from these trade deals? Like, I want a number. Like, just simplify it. They can't do that. In America, they can. Trump can easily say, well, with tariffs this month, we brought in $400 billion. It's great. It's magnificent. Go find the extra money on the tariff shelf. Canada can't do that. Canada's like, well, why do you need a number? Like, what do you mean, why do you need a number? Bro, we're a country. We want to know how much money we're spending and how much money we're bringing in. Why is that so hard to understand? And Rosemary Barton's defending it. What exactly are you expecting from the prime minister, the guy who's in charge of 40 plus million people? We expect him to get a good deal? I don't know. I haven't seen this, by the way. I haven't seen any of this. This is hilarious. These people are idiots. They're freaking idiots. I watched this for a second. I'm like, really? This is dumb. Like, I thought I was an idiot, and I feel smart compared to Rosemary Barton. You know what? Rosemary? You got your glasses. You got your glasses. I got my glasses too. Here, look. We'll both wear the nerdy glasses. Oh, there you go. There you go. I'm Rosemary Barton. What do you expect Mark Carney to do? You expect him to lead a country? You expect him to get trade deals? Really? Is that what you expect? I'm Rosemary Barton.
Peace here.
Keep his promise.
Yeah, but how? It's easy to say that. It's the how that's difficult.
Well, the how, I said that I would face President Trump and the rest of the world from a position of strength. Right now, we're in a position of weakness. The Americans know we can't sell our goods to anyone else because we don't have pipelines and LNG plants to get our most valuable export to other markets. I would pass the Canadian Sovereignty Act, which would rapidly greenlight and legalize pipelines, LNG plants, and other infrastructure.
But the government is doing some of that. There's an LNG plant that's happening. There are major projects.
By Stephen Harper.
Well, there's an expansion of it. There's an expansion. Right. And the Major Projects Office, it does allow them to get around laws and regulations. You know, that's the goal.
Yeah, but like Carney's done some stuff. Like he's gone on trips and he's like walked around. Like what more do you expect from Mark Carney? Like you expect him to lead a country? You expect him to like win? Like come on, it's Mark Carney. What the fuck is this, dude? This is CBC. We pay for her wages, not through like ad revenue, not through CBC selling merch, not through capitalism, through government subsidies. We pay for this. This is insane. Look, I could be Rosemary Barton. Dude, put me in front of a Chinese buffet and I'll puff up like Rosemary Barton in a week, all right? Put me in front of some good food. I already cut the glasses. We already know I can grow long hair, longer than Rosemary Barton's. Okay? Come on now. Come on. Make me the face of CBC. I'll do it. I'll do it for a fraction of it. I'll do it for free. We'll just run ads. I don't need government subsidized money from taxpayers. Come on. This is garbage. Her takes are garbage. She has no idea what she's doing. Come on. Come on, man.
All of it.
That's the goal. We're 7 months in, and the clock is ticking. I think we've been through enough goal setting, and now it's time for results achieved, and we're not getting any results. Mr. Carney won't even tell us if he supports an oil pipeline to the Pacific. His energy minister says it's just too hypothetical. What do you mean hypothetical? We had a project that was approved prior to the Liberals taking office. So here we are with no progress on expanding our resources or getting things done. It's all very good that he's setting up these offices and agencies in Ottawa, but I've got news for him. We're not going to make our economy economically independent by setting up new bureaucracies in Ottawa.
I want to ask you about leadership because I know that it's probably on your mind. You have a leadership review coming up in January. How confident are you that you will be okay, that you will survive that vote?
Very.
Yeah. Why? What makes you confident?
Well, because I'm going to focus on doing my job. And people say, well, you're going to get distracted with this. And the answer is no, because the same thing I have to do in January is what I have to do on Election Day, which is to do a good job. Yeah. And that means doing what I was sent here to do by the record 8.3 million people who voted for us, which is to fight for an affordable life.
It really was a record. There, like, when you look at the difference between how many people voted Liberal and how many people voted Conservative, somebody fact check me down below. Wasn't it like $600,000? 600,000 vote difference. Like Pierre did bring in record number of voters for the Conservatives. He ran a good platform. I feel so bad for the guy. I wish I could shake his hand. I know I've done my fair share of criticism and stuff like that, but I do genuinely feel bad for Pierre because he ran a good costed platform. I read it, dude. I read it with glasses, without glasses. I don't even know. Look at me. I look like a nerd right now. And I read the costed platform. Okay. Instead of going to the gym, I read a costed platform on a live stream. And it was good. My analysis of it was good. We all read it together on a live stream. It was phenomenal. That's how much I care about the outcome for Canada. Like Pierre, it was a good platform. It was a good chance of winning. And Trump got in the way, right? I hate to admit it. It's not even me admitting it. It's actually Joe Rogan talking about it on a podcast recently. He said that if Trump didn't say the things that he said about Canada, and if he didn't get involved the way he did, this man, Pierre Poilievre, would have won. And it's like, yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow, man, because I like Trump, but he affected what happened in Canada. And then he also is buddy with Mark Carney, which is weird because Canada and America are like mom and pa fighting right now. It's all very weird. It's very, very weird.
For our young people to be able to afford homes, fight for parents to be able to have safe streets for their kids to grow up on. And that's the job I'm doing, and that's why I believe I'll win the support of both the party and the country.
And you think that the party will be willing to give you a second chance?
Oh, she took her glasses off. I gotta take mine off.
Harper.
And look how that turned out.
Yeah,
We were
that's
in
right.
power for 10 years. So
But do you think
I'm
that
glad you pointed that one out.
Do you think that they'll be willing to give you a second chance, Mr. Poilievre?
I think so. I'm fighting for the things that our party and our country need. And the great thing about our party is we're united around the things that we believe in and are fighting for. We want balanced budgets and low taxes so people can afford good lives. We want to lock up criminals so that our people are safe. We want to get immigration and borders back under control. We want a common Canadian identity that unites us all. We want to bring back the promise of this country, that anyone who works hard gets a great life. And so the great thing I have, the benefit I have, is a party whose values and interests are aligned with the country's. And that's why I think both January and the next election will go in the right direction.
Listen, really appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you
so much for your time.
Yeah. Well, we are, 48 hours away from knowing what the heck's happening in Canada with the budget, with our own fate. So a lot of moving parts. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens with this budget, to see what happens with the outcome of voting for the budget or not voting for the budget. But I do want to pass a question off to you guys. How do you feel about this? Are you feeling antsy about this budget? Are you feeling antsy about or nervous about this vote? Like, how do you feel about this? And if there were an election, how do you think that outcome is going to be? Do you think that Pierre can win, or do you think that the Liberals are going to win? Let me know what you guys think. And we got to take a look at Doug Ford, the big macho fatso from Ontario, and what he has to say, because apparently Ford says he would never apologize to Trump. Let's have a look.
Hearing from the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, now about that infamous anti-tariff ad that led to a suspension of Canada-U.S. trade talks. Ontario took out the ad. Donald Trump was furious over it. It used the voice of Ronald Reagan, who was a big-time free trader and against tariffs. Doug Ford speaking at the provincial parliament, Queen's Park in Toronto, a short time ago. Let's listen in.
Well, I'm not going to get into he said. Back and forth. I don't think the people of Canada want that. I know one thing, we're united on getting a deal. I have asked them to focus on many areas, but especially on the auto sector, and I know he's doing his best to get that back to the table.
You don't want to correct the public record here? The Prime Minister says he had to apologize, and he said that he asked you specifically not to run the commercial.
Well, again, I'm not going to go back and forth. I had a different recollection of our conversation.
Oh, he's
but
nervous.
People don't need that. They want to move forward, to get a deal, to protect jobs and protect the economy of Ontario and of Canada.
He's nervous. This guy is the same guy, by the way, who every chance he gets, he says, look, we're going to stick it to America. We're going to shut the power off to 1.4 million homes. We're never going to back down to America. We're never going to back down to Trump. I love Americans. We're going to falsely run an ad in America with $75 million of taxpayers' money. Oh, I hate America. We love Americans. I hate Trump. Oh, I just hope that Carney can find the best deal, but never back down. You know what? That kind of reminds me of being bipolar. Like, I think Doug Ford is a little bipolar. Look at his face. I know there's a big light on his big face, but doesn't he look a little extra ghosty? Doesn't he look a little extra pale? Maybe I'm looking into it. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into it. But he looks a little nervous. His eyes are a little bigger. He doesn't look as confident. I could be looking into it. I could just be looking for a reason to shit on him. But that's what I feel.
He's lying about what he said?
No, again, I'm not going down that avenue. I know, I've talked to him this morning through text message. We have a great relationship. We're focused on the same areas, and that's protecting Canadian jobs, Ontario jobs, the steel sector, the auto sector, life sciences, and manufacturing.
Are you able to share your recollection, What's
Again,
I don't want to get into
I'm
he
just
said,
not going to go down that avenue. I'm not jumping into that bear trap. We have a great relationship. I'll tell you one thing, what he did do. He called me from Asia a couple times and said, pull the ad. And I said I wasn't going to do it until we're going to pause the ad on Monday. And that's exactly what we did. It was 12.4 billion impressions around the world. And they talked about it on the Senate floor. I love the fact that 4 Republicans jumped over and voted against tariffs on Canada. So they were very effective. And they ended up getting rejuvenating the talks with Democrats and Republicans down in the U.S. that a tariff on Canada is a tax on American people.
What was the Prime Minister's tone when
he's bragging about how far and wide his ad went? That's insane. When he is single-handedly responsible, this ad is single-handedly responsible for cutting off all trade talks between Trump and Canada. That's a weird flex to try to be braggadocious about something that is so catastrophic. As a leader of a province, to affect federal jurisdiction is insane to me. It's insane. Like, how is this not being investigated? How is this legal for a provincial government to spend provinces' money on something that is up to the feds to do? Has anyone even looked into this? Like the logistics and the legalities of this? Like, is Ford even allowed to run anti-American or anti-tariffs when it's a federal jurisdiction? Am I missing something here? Can somebody maybe correct me down in the comments? Because I feel like that shouldn't be allowed to happen, right? Like even Danielle Smith, somebody who I've advocated to say, hey, you know what? I would like to see Danielle Smith just say, screw you, Canada, and screw you, Carney, screw you, federal government. We're just going to deal with America directly. But like, even though that's what I want, she hasn't done that yet. And now maybe I'm understanding why. Because it's federal jurisdiction and she's the leader of a province, and that's conflicting. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right.
he asked you a couple of times to pull the ad? Was he personally angry with your actions?
No, he wasn't angry at all. I fully understand the position he's in. He's trying to talk to the president, but the president was going to give us a terrible deal, like they gave UK a terrible deal, gave Japan even a worse deal, in my opinion, and we weren't going to go down that rabbit hole of getting a terrible deal. I always say no deal is better than a bad deal, and that's what President Trump wants. He wants a terrible deal for Canadians. I take a different approach. I want the AMCAN fortress, American-Canadian fortress, that we can grow the pie, create more jobs, just like Ronald Reagan did. Jobs went up in a massive way when he signed the deal with Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, and we're asking to do the same thing. Tariffs do not work anywhere in the world. They especially don't work with your number one customer, and yes, they're our number one customer. So let's grow the pie, as I always say.
But do you think he should have apologized, or are you upset that he apologized?
Well, that's up to the Prime Minister. I'll tell you what I would do. I'd never apologize to Donald Trump. Donald Trump's trying to destroy our province, destroy our country, steal manufacturing jobs and auto sector jobs, steel jobs, aluminum jobs. The list keeps going on. I'll never apologize to President Trump, and I'm going to continue fighting for the people of Ontario and the people of Canada.
Did the Prime Minister give you a heads up that he was going to apologize?
No, he didn't. But that's his prerogative, right? I don't speak for the Prime Minister. I speak as the Premier of Ontario, and I'll never apologize to Donald Trump.
Okay, so right there, he admits that what he did is wrong. I don't speak for the Prime Minister. I don't speak for Canada, even though he didn't say that. That's kind of what he is implying. He doesn't speak for Canada or Canadians. He speaks for Ontario people only, yet he ran an ad that he knew would have repercussions not on just Ontario, but on an entire country. That's sabotage. Is that not sabotage? Is that not breaking his role as a premier where he affected something at the federal level? That's not his responsibility to do. It's not his responsibility to fix it or to affect it in any way. Should there not be repercussions for this? Am I missing something? I feel like I'm going fucking insane here. Can somebody please let me know in the comments if I'm going insane or not? Because I feel like what he did was wrong. He got caught, and the media is not talking about this. I think that's what's angering me the most. I feel like I have like a really good idea, and I'm not seeing the media even hint at all that my idea is even worthy of an idea at all. Like he's a provincial guy affecting federal stuff. Like I feel like that's a huge problem.
They put me on a stretching rack, I wouldn't apologize.
Does show weakness?
No, it doesn't. That's, something the Prime Minister is doing the best he can for the country. He has the best interests of the country at heart, and he's trying to work with 13 different premiers across the board. We look forward to sitting down at an FMM conference, and we'll have a further discussion when all the premiers come together.
Last question.
Are you going to spend what's left of the budget from this commercial on a new commercial targeting the US?
No, not necessarily. Let's see what the budget brings forward. I'm confident that there's a lot of opportunities for everyone in the country, but especially here in Ontario, we're focused on the Ring of Fire, our energy policy, large-scale nuclear. We made the announcement of the SMRs last week, and we're going to continue making sure we create the environment and the conditions for companies to come and invest in Ontario.
All right, that's it. Thank you. Last question.
Is there any part of you that accepts that perhaps what Ontario did with the commercial may have led to some negative consequences for Canada?
Not at all. It gave us strength. If anything, you roll over with President Trump. We've seen what President Trump does. He smells weakness, he'll latch on you like a pit bull. And we should never ever show weakness with President Trump. We're his number one customer. He needs us as much as we need them, and that's why we need to put this aside and start getting a good deal for Canada and the U.S.
But then why not continue running the commercial? Pulling the commercial shows weakness. Why not continue?
Last question.
Oh, that's a good one. If you're saying that you would never back down and never apologize because it shows weakness and we can never show our weakness, then why are you pulling the ad? That's freaking phenomenal.
President Trump wanted me to pull it one day, and I took 3 more days, and we paused it to get back to the table. It was very, very effective. I've been getting endless calls from a lot of people down in the U.S. and right across our country to say, way to go, keep going, and we'll never stop fighting for Ontario and Canadian jobs. But thanks,
Is it time for David Ritchie to resign?
That reporter freaking destroyed him, dude. Oh, that's so funny. I love that so much. He got caught. That is so freaking funny. Oh my goodness. All right. We got one more clip here to take a look at. Melanie Joly gets absolutely destroyed by Raquel Dancho. I love this so much. Here we go.
Have to respond. So on the commercially sensitive redactions, now on the SIF agreement for Nexstar, the jobs guarantee of $2,500 was not redacted. So it stands to reason that it wouldn't be redacted, wouldn't be commercially sensitive under a different SIF agreement. Surely you can tell us if there was a 3,000 person jobs guarantee for Brampton, and that's not commercially sensitive information. So it is concerning to me that you're not committing that there was a jobs guarantee for the Brampton
that's
facility.
not what I'm saying.
So you're saying that there is...
I'm saying that all the plants were linked and all the contracts are linked. So you will be able to see it when we will be producing.
But if there wasn't a jobs guarantee of 3,000 people at Brampton, which is the whole reason you're here, then how is it that you're tying all of the money to a jobs guarantee that may or may not exist? You should be able to tell us if there is a jobs guarantee for the 3,000 jobs at Brampton.
I think you're falling into the trap of trying to find a problem where there's none.
Well, the problem is that 3,000 people were laid off,
the government
and your government committed millions and billions, in fact, of dollars.
Well, MP Dancho, I don't know whether you want this to be a monologue or you want me to appear. Because
the question I'm asking you is very clear.
I don't need to be here.
Colleagues, I'm going to pause us again for a moment.
I don't need to be here is what she said. I don't need to be here.
This to be a monologue. I don't need to be here.
Colleagues,
that's a phenomenal observation, Melanie Joly. You don't need to. You actually don't need to be there. Yeah, we would prefer it if you weren't there, to be honest. I don't know. Maybe that was mean. Maybe it's not. All right. Let me know what you guys think down below about those clips. That's funny. That's funny stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, hope everyone is ready for question period, because it's going to be spicy. It's going to be good. It's all going to be about the budget. 100% of it, because we are on the brink of an election. Okay. The Conservatives want to know what the heck kind of budget we're facing. The Liberals don't want to give any wiggle room. The Liberals are going to be spending so much money. So we're on the brink of an election right now. We'll know in the next 24 hours if we're going to be facing and heading into another federal election. So you can imagine that tensions are pretty high right now in Parliament, in the House of Commons. All I ask is for you guys to hit the like button. That's it. Just hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single beat. And without further ado, let's get into question period. Let's have fun today, huh? Let's have fun today.
Personally set up 3 multi-billion-dollar investment funds registered offshore. Let's not forget, the Prime Minister still stands to personally benefit from these offshore funds through future bonus payments. While the Prime Minister lectures middle-class Canadians about paying their fair share, his company is dodging billions in tax dollars that could be supporting Canadian services like healthcare. This is the height of hypocrisy. Canadians deserve a Prime Minister who puts the country first, not his personal bank account.
The honourable member for St. Catharines.
Mr. Speaker, in baseball, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and sometimes it rains. What we're feeling this week comes from caring so deeply about this incredible Blue Jays team, a team that finished last just a season ago and somehow gave us a magical run that no one expected. Sure, the other night hurt, but this season was special. These were players who gave everything, who understood what it means to represent an entire country. For a few weeks, they united Canadians coast to coast and reminded us why we love this game. Even in the World Series, our American League champion Jays were called lucky, underdogs against a powerhouse Dodgers team, but we knew they belonged there. They fought hard, held their own, and a couple of bad bounces made the difference. But that's baseball. It's okay to be disappointed, but years from now, we'll still be talking about this team, the one that played with heart and determination. We'll have to wait a little bit longer for that next championship, but what a ride this was. And Mr. Speaker, how can you not be romantic about baseball? Go Jays!
I don't like that they're trying to politicize baseball.
Oral questions.
Oral questions.
The honourable leader of the opposition.
Tomorrow will be the 10th costly Liberal budget to be tabled over a decade that has skyrocketed the cost of living for Canadians. The PM is once again asking for sacrifices for Canadians who are paying too much. For the Conservatives, it's simple. If the budget brings down the cost of living, we'll vote for it. But if the budget just further increases the cost of living, we're going to vote against it. Instead of causing a costly election for a costly budget, why not table an affordable budget for an affordable life? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, obviously we're listening to the members of the opposition, and good news, Mr. Speaker. I think I've just learned that the opposition leader will order all of his colleagues to vote for the budget because, yes, it will be an affordable budget, and yes, it will build Canada, and yes, the budget will make Canadians very proud. So we welcome the support of the Conservative Party and the Leader of the Opposition.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, for 10 years now, the Liberals have been making the same promises. The Finance Minister was a Minister of Industry previously, and he gave us the greatest drop in investment in Canada after promising that they would promote investment. And what happened? It doubled the debt, doubled lineups at food banks, and doubled the cost of housing. So instead of forcing Canadians to make more sacrifices and triggering a costly election on a costly budget, why not table an affordable budget for an affordable life? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, it will be an affordable budget for an affordable life. And not only that, it will be one that opens the door wide to opportunities for Canadians and young Canadians across our country. People in the trades, for Canadian softwood and steel and aluminum. We are going to build this beautiful big country affordably and do something, Mr. Speaker, that will be historical by building a better Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, tomorrow will be the 10th costly Liberal budget after they doubled housing costs, doubled food bank lineups, and doubled the national debt. Now they're making exactly the same costly promises. And the Prime Minister says Canadians who can't afford to eat, heat, or house themselves need to make more, quote, sacrifices. The choice for us is simple. If a budget brings down the cost of living, we'll support it. If it brings up the cost of living, just like every other Liberal budget, we will vote no. So instead of trying to provoke a costly election on a costly budget, why not an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, you know, obviously we've listened attentively to what the opposition have to say, and I think I just heard good news. The Leader of the Opposition saying that he's going to order his troops and himself, and they'll walk in here and support this great, affordable, Liberal budget that's coming down tomorrow, a budget that brings down taxes for Canadians, a budget that brings down taxes and GST for first-time homebuyers, a budget that makes life more affordable and creates opportunities for young people all over this country, a generational budget, and a budget that I know will be glad to have the support of the Leader of the Opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, they've been making those promises for the last 9 Liberal budgets, which doubled housing costs and drove 2.2 million people to the food bank because of higher grocery prices. So if he wants to take ideas for an affordable budget, an affordable life, here's one. There's the Liberal industrial carbon tax, which applies to the steel, cement, and other inputs to build homes. And it applies to the farmers and their fertilizer and equipment. So will the Prime Minister, instead of provoking an unnecessary election, get rid of the industrial carbon tax so we can bring down food and housing costs?
There you go.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it was going so well up till now. We still have hope, though, that this Leader of the Opposition won't want to send Canadians, including our great farmers, to the polls over the Christmas season. The Leader continues to bring up these imaginary taxes. We'd be happy to explain to him once again that farmers in this country are mostly exempt from any of those industrial carbon taxes, Mr. Speaker. The budget will be affordable. The budget will be great. The budget will build this country and build opportunities for farmers, for young people, and all Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he's got to get his story straight. First, he started his answer by saying there is no industrial carbon tax, and then he finished it by saying the industrial carbon tax is great and doesn't cost anybody any money. He's got to decide which it is. Here's how it works for a Prime Minister who doesn't understand that Canadians need steel. The industrial carbon tax on steel, cement, plastic, and other inputs raises the cost of building homes. The tax on farm equipment and fertilizer raises the cost of food. So if they want an affordable budget for an affordable life, why not scrap this industrial carbon tax on food and homes?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, earlier this year, Canadians elected a new government with a strong mandate to build the strongest economy in G7. Tomorrow, we will table a generational budget, Mr. Speaker. We will invest less in government operations so we can invest more in Canada. We will build Canada. We will invest in Canadians. We will invest across this country from coast to coast to coast and build the strongest economy in the G7. It's time for the Leader and his party to stop the rhetoric. Join us. Support this budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
minister that member has been in this Liberal government for 10 years, and he says that he's new, making the same promises that deficits will result in investment. Well, the last time the current finance minister promised that, what we saw is that investment dropped more than at any time in Canadian history, more than any other G7 country. But you know what went up? The cost of housing doubled. Food went up, doubling the number of people in food bank lineups, and they doubled the national debt. So why not an affordable budget for an affordable life by getting rid of the industrial carbon tax on food and homes for a change?
There you go. Throw some W's down in the chat. Hit the like button. That's the way it is.
Mr. Speaker, you can't make this up. That member's been in this House for 20 years. He's sat in opposition now for 10 years and has not supported one affordability measure this government has put forward. Mr. Speaker, we have cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. We have cut the tax for first-time home buyers. We are moving forward, Mr. Speaker, for automatic federal benefits, getting benefits to 5.5 million Canadians. They do nothing but vote against affordability measures. He's been in this House for 20 years. He has produced nothing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Saint Jean. Mr. Speaker, we're 24 hours away from the budget, and the government still hasn't moved beyond threatening to call an election. And frankly, the public is not impressed. It voted for a minority government, and a minority government works with other parties to get its budget passed. The government has 3 potential supporters to choose from. So it's ridiculous that with only 24 hours to go before the budget, the Liberals still aren't negotiating and they're content to threaten an election at Christmas. Will they finally respect the will of the people and get to work? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, I think that the member wouldn't mind if I congratulate all of the candidates for the municipal elections in Quebec and the winners that were on the platforms yesterday. In terms of our talks, the member knows full well that we've had wonderful discussions with her leader, with her and other members of her team. We're listening, and we have listened, as well as the 44 Quebec members from the Liberal Party, and we're listening to the opposition, including the Bloc.
Party wants to vote for this budget.
That everyone
they just know it's going to be
will see their aspirations reflected in the budget. The honourable member for Saint Jean. Mr. Speaker, they're listening, but they're not hearing. People don't want an election, but what they did want was a minority government. And if they had wanted the Liberals to behave like monarchs, they would have given them both hands on the wheel. But for 3 consecutive elections, voters have been telling them, work with the opposition and negotiate. 2019, 2021, 2025, same result. And here they are again, threatening elections instead of working. After 3 elections and just 24 hours before the budget, isn't it time for the Liberals to get the message? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, the government was elected 6 months ago, and 6 months to come up with a budget plan to build Quebec and create opportunities for Quebecers and Canadians across the country from one coast to another. Well, there will be projects in this budget tomorrow, an investment that will be there. It will create opportunities for young people and people from Quebec and elsewhere. And I think Bloc members, just like all the other members in this House, will see their aspirations and hopes for Canada reflected in a document that will build Canada. Thank you. The honourable member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagoacton. Mr. Speaker, the conflict with Washington is far from over. The Liberals have even gone so far as to apologize on our knees when we are the ones suffering from tariffs.
Jesus.
And since this won't end anytime soon, why is the priority in the budget tomorrow will not be to support Canadians? We've made 6 requests related to the needs of Quebecers.
Man, that's
money
crazy.
for
Even
health,
Bloc is saying
fair pensions for
thinking
seniors,
about Canadians.
transfers
You know it's
for
bad when the
housing and
Bloc is saying,
infrastructure,
why
loans
aren't
for
you supporting
homeownership,
Canadians? When
and
they always say, why aren't you
814 million
supporting
refunds to
Quebecois
Quebecers.
people?
Tomorrow the Liberals have a choice. Will they respond to the needs of Quebecers?
Oh, there it is.
The Honourable
Will they respond to
Minister
the
of
needs
Industry.
Quebecers? But before, he was
The
talking about
answer is
Canadians.
simple. I could just say
saying.
yes and sit down. But since my colleague also referred to the fact that we still are having discussions with the government, yes, we are at the negotiating table in the U.S., and we expect the Americans to meet with us. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to the support sectors including forestry in his sector, the automotive sector. We know that steel and aluminum and software lumber as well. So we'll be there for workers with a consequential budget. Thank you.
Member for Thornhill.
Another day and another grim headline confirming what Canadians already know. 10 years of liberal economics have driven this country to the brink. In the GTA, 85% say now it's too expensive to live and work in their own communities. And they're right. The Liberals doubled the debt, they maxed out the national credit card, and they handed Canadians a bill through inflation and crushing taxes. Their carbon tax, their fuel standard, the plastic ban make it more expensive to grow, move, and buy food. Will they finally admit their policies punish the very people they're trying to help and use tomorrow's budget to scrap these hidden food taxes once and for all?
Well said, well said, well said.
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Our new government will deliver its first budget tomorrow focused on making generational investments to unlock jobs and opportunities, to boost productivity and growth, to build housing infrastructure and defense, to attract $500 billion in new private investment, to double trade with non-U.S. countries, and to move from reliance to resilience. We're making responsible investments while reducing operational spending. This is how we build the strongest economy in the G7. Tomorrow's budget will empower Canadians because this is your country, and we decide what comes next.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
The minister talks like the government's money belongs to him, and every dollar they spend comes right out of the pockets of Canadians. And to the 85% in the GTA who say they can't afford life, they call these taxes imaginary. They aren't imaginary when you're staring at your own credit card bill. The government's job is to listen to Canadians, not lecture them or gaslight them or threaten an election to distract them from the failures. Instead of trying to cause a costly election on a costly budget, why not an affordable budget for an affordable life here?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Good job, Melissa. Here's some W's
An
there.
affordable budget for an affordable life is exactly what we'll deliver tomorrow on Budget Day. Conservatives have referenced the need to address productivity and GDP per capita for years. Well, good news. The head of the IMF has said diversifying trade and investing in infrastructure, housing, and defense will, in fact, boost productivity. And the Bank of Canada governor has said that this is the only way to make life more affordable. Conservatives don't seem to want to make life more affordable now. Will they vote to support our budget or vote for a Christmas election?
The Honourable Member for Battleford, Lloydminster, Meadow Lake.
Mr. Speaker, a costly budget means a costly life for Canadians. Every dollar this Liberal government spends comes out of Canadians' pockets through higher taxes and inflation. Hidden taxes like the Liberals' industrial carbon tax, their fuel standards, and food packaging tax are all driving up the cost of groceries. The packaging tax alone will cost the food industry $5.6 billion and drive up the price of produce by 34%. Will the Prime Minister stop trying to engineer a costly election and instead scrap the food packaging tax?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, here we go again with the imaginary taxes that the party opposite makes
that's
up.
so disrespectful
Mr.
to try and
Speaker, on
accuse the
this side of
Conservatives
the
of
House, we are focused
talking
on
about
affordability
imaginary
for
taxes.
Canadians. We
Canada's
are
like
going
the
to
worst
cut
tax
taxes for
country in the world.
22 million Canadians. We are cutting the GST for first-time homebuyers. We are cutting the consumer carbon tax. We are going to build houses at a scale not seen since the Second World War. We are going to have automatic federal benefits for 5.5 million Canadians. Will the party opposite stop with the rhetoric? It's time for all of us in this House to come together, support a generation.
The Honourable Member for Battleford, Lloydminster, Meadow Lake.
Mr. Speaker, Ottawa Public Health is now reporting that 1 in 4 families are food insecure, and even baby formula is out of reach for many parents. That's the reality after 10 years of costly Liberal deficits and taxes. Food banks are overwhelmed and Canadians are struggling to put food on the table. Instead of cutting costs, the Liberals keep raising food prices with their hidden taxes. So, Mr. Speaker, I'll ask again, will the Prime Minister stop trying to engineer a costly election and finally scrap the food packaging tax?
His job is to make life better for Canadians. It's one job.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, we find members opposite worried about imaginary taxes, when on this side of the House we are focused on solutions. The budget will make permanent the National School Food Program, which represents $800 in savings for families each year. This is one of the many investments that we are making on this side of the House to ensure kids have the best start in life and that families can get ahead. We hope you'll join us and support the budget.
It sounds like ChatGPT in real life.
The honourable member for Long Range Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar this government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians through higher taxes and inflation.
That's right.
They're taxing food at every stage, from farm to fork, with their industrial carbon tax, their fuel regulations, and their plastics ban. The Liberals' fuel regulations alone will raise the cost of gas and diesel by up to 17 cents a litre and cost the economy $9 billion. Newfoundland and Labrador families are already feeling it, saying getting ahead feels impossible. Will the Prime Minister stop trying to engineer a costly election on a costly budget and instead scrap the fuel tax?
Well said, well said.
Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, it's time that we really set the record straight. We have the members from the opposite party getting up time and time again and talking about taxes that simply do not exist. Let's be very clear. There is no plastics wrapping tax. It doesn't exist, and they should actually be honest with their citizens and their voters that it doesn't exist.
The honourable member for Long Range Mountain.
While the Liberals make excuses, food bank use in Canada has exploded.
That's right.
The new Hunger Count report shows over 2.2 million monthly visits, a 5% increase from last year, double since 2019. 1 in 5 food bank clients have jobs, but they still can't afford to feed their families. In Newfoundland and Labrador, local food banks are overwhelmed. Families are lining up earlier, leaving with less because the shelves are bare. Once again, Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister stop trying to engineer a costly election on a costly budget and instead scrap the fuel tax?
Good job.
The honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
I want to say to the colleague from Newfoundland and Labrador in the opposition, there is no fuel tax. It's imaginary taxes on food. What I want to say clearly is the measures that we have in place, $10 a day childcare in our province, is allowing moms to stay in the workforce, dads in the workforce. I was in my riding this weekend and spoke about the importance of the new program in the budget about training workers, construction and healthcare, getting our young people to work. This is affordability. The honourable member for Montmorency Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, in Quebec, families can no longer pay for groceries, and in my riding, workers and retirees have to choose between paying for food, transportation, or rent. Every dollar spent by this Liberal government comes directly out of the pockets of Canadians. And they also add to things with their ideological hidden taxes on food. The industrial carbon tax, the plastics tax, and the clean fuel regulations. Can the Prime Minister stop trying to provoke a costly election with a costly budget and once and for all eliminate these ideological food taxes? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, what I call ideology is when they develop these new imaginary taxes to try to spread falsehoods in the population. My colleague knows there's no grocery tax, but what is clear is that the government is working on affordability, and that's why we're here to protect the social safety net in Canada. What does that mean? Daycare. It means support for pharmacare and healthcare. And what is clear? And that's what my colleagues on the other side don't do. We are going to build Canada because in terms of affordability, people want jobs, and we're going to provide jobs. The honourable member for Joliet.
What jobs? Haven't we been
Mr.
losing
Speaker,
jobs?
It's not just his new
What jobs are we creating?
That the Minister of Finance has made themselves. He also manufactured the entire election crisis on the eve of the budget. His government held no consultations. No witnesses were heard at committee. He responded to none of the opposition's requests, and there still have not been any negotiations between the parties. And all he's done 24 hours before the budget is to threaten an election. Instead of buying new shoes today or making new shoes, why isn't the minister working on making a deal to get his
greasy.
budget
I've never
passed?
seen Liberals threaten an election like this.
The Honourable
It's
Minister.
so weird.
I think it's important to correct what my honourable colleague has just said. There's more than 28,000 people who participated in these pre-budgetary consultations. We've had many conversations with the opposition, including the Bloc, and I had conversations with myself and many of my colleagues, as did the Minister of Finance. We involved all the parties in this House, and there'll be important investments in many sectors. And the question is, what will the Bloc do? Will they vote to support Quebecers and all Canadians, or will they vote against this budget? Thank you. The Honourable Member for Joliette. Mr. Speaker, it's like the grasshopper and the ant. The Liberals sang all summer long, and with only 24 hours to go before the budget, they find themselves caught off guard. So they threaten elections, they want to play with the numbers and make partisan attacks. Yet, Mr. Speaker, they know that the Bloc would ask for money for health care. That's our #1 priority for Quebecers. And they knew we'd ask for an increase in seniors' pensions. We've been asking for it for 4 years. The Liberals have known all our demands for ages. So with only 24 hours to go before the budget, will they support us, yes or no? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, tomorrow's budget will see major investment in infrastructure.
You're a liar, Harry.
Major investment in technology to create jobs across our country, including in
You're a
Quebec
liberal,
and in all
Harry.
regions of Quebec. The question is to know whether the Bloc, what they will do. Will they support Quebec? Will they work with us during these tough times, or will they choose to send us to an election? That's my question for the Bloc, Mr. Speaker.
Calgary East. All of the Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of hardworking Canadians through higher taxes and inflation. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is forcing young Canadians to sacrifice more so he can spend more. A costly budget leads to a costly life for Canadians. Liberals promised a $42 billion deficit. If the Prime Minister really is spending less, the deficit will be lower. Instead of trying to cause a costly election on a costly budget, why not an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Minister for Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
Mr. Speaker, as a fellow Albertan, I know families want more than just to get by. They want good jobs, stable incomes, and a fair shot at building a better life. That's exactly what we're focused on. Last year, the Prairies Development Agency helped create more than 9,000 jobs.
If you have to read a script this hard,
Budget 2025 keeps
it
that
means you don't know
momentum
what the hell
going.
you're doing.
Conservatives can support it
I'm just saying.
and help grow Alberta's economy, or keep voting against the opportunities that Albertans and Canadians deserve.
Shame on Canada. The Honourable Member for Calgary East.
I can promise you Albertans would not be happy with that answer, because 9 costly inflationary Liberal budgets gave Canadians double deficit, double debt, double food bank usage, double rents, double mortgages, and double inflation. What Canadians don't want is this Prime Minister to double down on the same failed policies that sent 2.2 million Canadians into a food bank every single month. So instead of trying to cause a costly election on a costly budget, why not an affordable budget for an affordable life?
Yeah! The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker,
She got no idea what the hell she's doing.
Conservatives keep talking and talking and talking about affordability. But when it comes to vote, they oppose the very measures that create jobs and strengthen local economies. We're delivering real results, thousands of new jobs, real investments in prairie communities, and stronger paychecks for Alberta families. If Conservatives actually care about helping families make ends meet, they should support Budget 2025 and the jobs it will create for
This is like an example of when you lie on your resume or something. You know? Like she had no idea, no business being there, and
Every
what she's
dollar
doing.
this government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians at higher taxes and higher inflation. The Prime Minister is giving billions to Liberal connector insiders with consultants, and yet at the same time is telling young Canadians they have to sacrifice more. He's promised to cap spending at a 2% increase, but he's actually growing it by 8%. And who is paying for this inflationary spending? It's the 2 million Canadians lining up at food banks every month. So instead of trying to cause a costly election on a costly budget, why not deliver an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Make a real difference in fighting food insecurity, Mr. Speaker. Seniors being able to access the benefits that they're entitled to. That's why we're going to make it easier for 1 million lower-income Canadians to access the benefits that they've worked so hard for with automatic tax filing. We're going to make sure that Canadians, especially older Canadians, keep their hard-earned money with the first national anti-fraud strategy. And what does Alma from Marathon, Ontario say about the strategy? Great news, yet again, by our amazing government. Thanks for always taking care of things that matter to Canadians. And we, Mr. Speaker, will continue to protect and empower Canadians like Alma.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, after a delay of more than a year, the Liberal government will finally table its budget tomorrow. Since this Prime Minister took office, the Liberals have doubled the deficit, and $48 billion worth of investments have gone up in smoke. My question is simple to the Prime Minister. Will his budget propose concrete measures to eliminate indirect taxes on basic food products?
Throw one down in chat if you're nervous about
does he know that
budget.
Instead of calling an expensive, a costly election, he should table an affordable budget for an affordable life?
I'm nervous,
the Honourable
man.
Minister, while the Conservatives spend QP after QP talking about taxes, we are laser focused on programs that will have a concrete effect on Canadians' lives. There's the school food program, for example.
Yeah, smash it one down if you're nervous about tomorrow's budget.
This is having a major impact on the lives of thousands of Quebecers in the most underprivileged neighborhoods. And let them keep talking about imaginary taxes while we continue to build a strong economy. The Honourable Member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the C.D. Howe report, this is not imaginary taxes. The C.D. Howe gave the Liberal Party an F for its fiscal management. Even more embarrassing is the fact that this Prime Minister had promised Canadians he would keep the deficit under $42 billion. And now we see it's going to more than double. So given his finance experience, does the Prime Minister recognize the urgency of stopping his inflationary spending and to have an affordable budget? The Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm looking forward to having my colleague listen to the budget tomorrow. It will include generational investments to build a stronger economy so that we can have social programs that support Canadians so that we can afford that. That's the big difference between us and the Conservatives. All they want to do, they wouldn't have the Canada Child Benefit, they wouldn't have school food, they wouldn't have dental care and so on. Here, we believe in the economy and we want to build the economy so that we can help Canadians all across the country.
Don Valley East.
Mr. Speaker, I am proud to represent a riding with a vibrant Filipino-Canadian community who have contributed so much to Canada. Across the board, Canadians overwhelmingly support our government's work to help businesses grow and reach new customers around the world. That's why the Prime Minister and his government's efforts to be out there expanding trade ties are so important for building a strong, secure economy for the future. Could the Minister of International Trade please share how our government is strengthening Canada's foothold in the Indo-Pacific and what's at stake ahead of tomorrow's budget?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Through you, I'd like to thank my colleague for her important work on the Filipino Heritage Month, Mr. Speaker. Last week, I joined the Prime Minister in the Indo-Pacific, one of the fastest-growing regions in the world, to expand trade and investment opportunities for Canadians. We announced the launch of a Filipino, a Thailand free trade agreement, and led forward on the Canada-ASEAN FTA. Mr. Speaker, the numbers typically show that within 6 years of signing an FTA, trade doubles. That means more opportunities for Canadian workers here in Canada. This new government is laser focused on opening new markets, creating opportunities across the country, and expanding trade by double for non-U.S. exports. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
Mr. Speaker, on Friday, the Supreme Court struck down mandatory jail time for predators convicted of possessing child sexual abuse material. That decision is disgusting. These offenders weren't caught with a few files. They had hundreds of images and videos of children as young as 3 being tortured and abused. Yet instead of standing up for victims, this Liberal government stays silent. Why is this Prime Minister more interested in protecting pedophiles than protecting Canada's children from monsters?
Wow, look at the Conservative bench. Mostly everybody stands up.
Secretary of State for combating crime.
Mr. Speaker, plain and simple, child abusers should face the toughest penalties under Canadian law. Child abusers are amongst the most reprehensible in our society, Mr. Speaker. That's why we've introduced sweeping reforms through Bill C-14 that make bail stricter and sentences tougher, and that make child sexual offenders serve time behind bars, Mr. Speaker. But let's not forget C-63. A Liberal government introduced that bill to protect kids online, but the Conservatives refused to support it. And a few months ago, we brought...
I wouldn't be pontificating. The honourable member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
With these Liberals, why do charter rights of pedophiles come before charter rights of children? Shamefully, every single member of this party, including the Minister of Justice, remains silent. Crickets. This ruling means pedophiles with hundreds of videos of children being sexually assaulted can escape mandatory jail. You can't claim to stand for victims while you defend a system that shields the predators. Why won't this Prime Minister call the ruling what it is? Disgusting, and commit to restoring mandatory jail time for pedophiles.
Yep. Public execution at a certain point is what I think.
The Honourable Secretary of State.
That might be a little
Mr. Speaker, we are not silent on this issue. That is why we've introduced sweeping reforms under Bill C-14 to make bail stricter and sentences tougher, and we are making sure that child sexual offenders serve time behind bars, Mr. Speaker. But let's not forget the conduct of the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. They refuse to support C-63, which would help protect our children against online crime, online predators. And a few months ago, they refused to support lawful access, which will help police catch pedophiles, Mr. Speaker.
What the hell up? The Liberals are the ones that want a bunch of loony bins and wackos free in the streets. It shouldn't even be controversial.
Okay, order, please. Order. Hello.
Not one minister said a word.
Okay, we have to move on to the honourable minister, l'honorable député.
The honourable member for Bellechasse-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, the Supreme Court's decision declaring mandatory minimum sentences unconstitutional leaves us speechless. A person with 317 images of children, including girls aged from 3 to 10 years old. It's our view that it's necessary to have mandatory minimum sentence as well. Frankly, Mr. Speaker, how can the Liberals protect criminals instead of children? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Crimes against children are among the most serious and hateful crimes in our society. Child abusers need to get the toughest sentences under Canadian law. In the coming weeks, the government will be taking new steps based on our election platform to crack down on these heinous crimes. This Friday, we know there will be Bill C-242, and there will be nothing about getting rid of these sentences. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, the government has a heavy responsibility to protect its citizens, especially the most vulnerable among us, like kids. The government introduced Bill C-14, which could have brought back mandatory minimums and done some good, but no, that's not what they did. Criminals are going to continue to get away with it. This has just been confirmed by the Supreme Court. Why is this government more concerned with protecting pedophiles than protecting the rights of children, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Justice Minister. Mr. Speaker, each child, every child in Canada deserves to be protected from exploitation and fear. Our government will always protect children with the strictest and toughest of laws and measures to support victims. Mr. Speaker, in the weeks to come, our government will be tabling legislation to protect children, and there will also be debate this Friday on Bill C-242, which doesn't anywhere talk about mandatory sentences.
For Carlton Trail Eagle Creek.
Every dollar the Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in the form of higher taxes and inflation. A costly budget will lead to a costly life. While Canadians are lining up at food banks, this Liberal government is using their money to hand out bonuses. The Business Development Bank got $60 million, EDC $45 million, CMHC $30 million. Wow. Instead of trying to cause a costly election on a costly budget, why not an affordable budget for an affordable life?
Here, here.
The Honourable... Please, order, members, order. The Honourable Secretary of State for Rural Development.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Weeks, Mr. Speaker, I've been trying to learn French, but I want to say to the people of Canada, when we see a lot of measures that we're undertaking as a government to make life more affordable, we see opposition from the opposition on really good measures, Mr. Speaker. So I've learned in English to say, you are the problem, and in my native language of Cree, and now
you are the problem.
Because the bottom line is...
That's lame. Looks like pure left.
You know, in the past, members have invoked references to language and different contexts, and it can sometimes be a sensitive issue. So I think we should leave out references to different languages and how you know, some people understand one, don't understand the other. The Honourable Member for Carlton Trail Eagle Creek.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in excessive bonuses to failed Liberal insiders drives up inflation, and Canadians are paying the price. 2.2 million food bank visits, 700,000 are children. Rent has doubled. The food bank in Saskatoon is moving locations to keep up with the rising demand as it's, and I quote, bursting at the seams. Canadians can't afford homes, they can't afford food. Instead of trying to cause a costly election on a costly budget, why not an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Rural Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For 10 long years, we send 14 Conservative MPs to Ottawa. That's 140 years.
We're going to have to start from the top on that. I mean, there was nothing provocative in the Secretary of State's answer. I don't know why it was generating so much reaction. The Honourable Secretary of State from the top, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. For 10 long years, we sent 14 Conservative MPs to Ottawa. It's 140 collective years that they have not stood up for Saskatchewan, nor voted for any positive members to help with the affordability issue across this country, Mr. Speaker. They can help today by voting for this budget. And if they want a Christmas election, Mr. Speaker, remember that Santa Claus wears red. Thank you.
Weird.
The honourable member for Leduc-Wetaskiwin.
Let's remember that Santa Claus isn't spending taxpayer dollars, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, every single dollar the Liberal government brags about spending comes from the pockets of hardworking Canadians in the form of higher taxes and inflation. While Canadians line up at food banks in record numbers, their own money is being used by this Liberal government to hand out hundreds of millions of dollars in executive bonuses. Point in case, last year, 100% of Via Rail executives got bonuses averaging $110,000. Wow. This is incomprehensible and irresponsible. Instead of trying to provoke a costly election with another costly Liberal budget, why not an affordable budget for an affordable life for all Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Mr. Speaker, what Canadians expect of us is to invest in them, to invest in their families, to invest in the futures of their children, and that's exactly what this budget will do, Mr. Speaker. It will make sure that not only are we creating the jobs of today, but we're creating the jobs of tomorrow, and we're ensuring that young people have the skills to get those jobs in partnership with unions, with the Canadian building trades, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that everybody has a fair chance. That's what Canadians expect, and that's why they trust us, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Leduc-Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, in 2015, the New York Times reported that Canada had the richest middle class in the world. Just a decade later, our country is in an economic tailspin. Do you know what happened in 2015, Mr. Speaker? This Liberal government took power, and many of their current ministers, including the finance minister, were elected. And here's where we are today. During an epic housing crisis, 99% of CMHC executives got bonuses, averaging $43,000. How is that okay? How is it that Canada, under their watch, went from the richest middle class in the world to a country where many middle-class Canadians can't afford housing?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister.
Since 2015, 400,000 children have been lifted out of poverty through the Canada Child Benefit.
Yeah, and millions of people have been put into poverty.
Will receive a tax credit. Mr. Speaker, we are working with Canadians on the things that they have told us are a priority. That's why Canadians trust this Liberal government. That's why they deeply distrust the Conservative Party of Canada.
Ooh, that's not true at all.
Saskatoon West.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in the form of higher taxes and inflation. At CMHC, executives each receive bonuses of $43,000. Even more ridiculous, Via Rail executives got $110,000 each. While the Liberals reward insiders, they're asking young Canadians to sacrifice more, driving many of them to food banks. In Saskatoon, food bank usage is up 49% over pre-COVID levels, with children accounting for 38% of those users. Instead of trying to cause a costly election on a costly budget, why not an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, it's just so tiring to hear from the members opposite how they are against everything, including anything that includes fighting climate change. But you know what they should be for, and that I hope that they will support when they're looking at our budget? They should be looking at a national school food program that helps support young people when they're in schools. They should be there to help support Canadians. That is what we do on this side of the House. We shouldn't be always hearing from them and how they're against everything. Let's hear something positive. Let's hear a positive vote on the budget.
The Honourable Member, l'Honourable Député de Dorval.
The Honourable Member for Dorval-Lachine-LaSalle. Mr. Speaker, Canada recently hosted our G7 partners in Toronto to advance the G7 Critical Minerals Alliance, international energy security, and the protection of our shared environment. Can the Minister explain how the Canada-led alliance will help stabilize prices for key minerals, protect us from coercive supply disruptions, and result in good jobs and cleaner, more affordable, and climate-competitive energy technologies for Canadians and Quebecers? Thank you very much. The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change. Thank you, and I thank you for the question. It was an honor for me and for the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources to host the G7 Energy and Environment Ministers meeting in Toronto. We discussed important things like secure supply, the circular economy, and critical minerals. Canada also secured 25 new investments, including several in Quebec, with 9 allied countries to unlock $6.4 billion worth of critical minerals projects. And we agreed also on price stabilization tools.
Member for Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes.
For 10 years, the Liberals have promised that their massive deficits will lead to more jobs and investment in Canada. It hasn't. Tomorrow, we will see another budget packed with more inflationary spending. The result, Holseg Canada announced the closure of their Lindsay plant, putting 130 people out of work. After 10 years of this Liberal government, manufacturers are closing, costs are soaring, and investment is fleeing. And just the other week, the Prime Minister told Canadians that they need to be prepared to make sacrifices. For those families dealing with job loss, high grocery prices, and a housing market out of reach, what other sacrifices should Canadians be prepared to make?
Mr. Speaker, this budget will be about protecting jobs, making sure that we protect our communities. This budget will be about building Canada and creating new jobs across the country like we've never seen before. And this budget will be about empowering Canadians, making sure that they have trust and confidence in their future and in the prosperity of this country. And that's why the Conservatives should vote for it.
The honourable member for Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes.
Speaker, we have 130 people out of work in Lindsay, Ontario. That, combined with the latest hunger count report, shows Canadians are struggling like never before. Food bank visits hit 2.2 million in March, nearly double pre-pandemic levels. 1/3 of clients are children. Almost 1 in 5 have a job but can't make ends meet. Yet this government continues to impose hidden taxes, including the industrial carbon tax on fertilizer and farm equipment, which drives food prices even higher. Instead of trying to cause a costly election on a costly budget, why not table an affordable budget for an affordable life?
Hear, hear. Honorable Ministre.
Mr. Speaker, we know there are trade tensions right now. We know that some tariff industries are particularly affected, and it will be my pleasure to work with my colleague to make sure that we're able to bring support to his community, particularly OSAG and OSAG workers. That being said, this budget will be doing just that, making sure that we protect jobs, making sure that we build the country, and making sure also that we empower Canadians. Looking forward to his support.
Hear, hear. The honourable member for York Durham.
Every dollar that this Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of hardworking Canadians in the form of higher taxes and higher inflation. Take the hidden fuel standards tax, which will raise the price of gasoline by 17 cents a litre and diesel by 16 cents a litre. A tax on the trucker that delivers the food is a tax on the mum or the dad buying that food in the grocery store aisle. It's a tax on young Canadians. It's one more sacrifice that this Prime Minister is asking the next generation to make. Instead of a costly budget and a costly election, why not eliminate the fuel standards tax and bring forward an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, it is so tiring to hear about these imaginary taxes. Let's focus on reality. In reality, this budget that we'll be presenting tomorrow is going to be providing positive supports for Canadians that they're looking for. They want us to build Canada. They want us to build it well. We want to talk about a cost to future generations. It's hearing from the opposite side about how they will do nothing to fight climate change. We are going to keep on standing up for Canada. We're going to keep on building Canada. We're going to build it well.
I'm sorry. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but...
Mr. Speaker, last week Canadians watched with horror as Hurricane Melissa, which was the strongest hurricane in the Caribbean's history, tore through the region, leaving widespread destruction in its wake. Hundreds of thousands of people were affected, lives were lost, homes and infrastructure were damaged and destroyed. Families were affected by the flooding and landslides. As the people of Jamaica, Cuba, and Haiti and across the region begin the difficult work of reconstruction and recovery, can the Secretary of State for International Development talk about what Canada is doing?
The Honourable Secretary of State for International Development.
Hurricane Melissa has left heartbreaking devastation in its wake, and we stand with the people of the Caribbean in this moment of crisis. Last week, we announced $7 million in emergency relief, allowing partners to scale up the delivery of food, water, health services, and other essential aid.
Canada would
this
rather
builds
send
on
money
long-standing work to strengthen
to the
disaster
Caribbean
preparedness in the Caribbean and
fix
support for United Nations
problems here in
Emergency
Canada.
Response Fund, which released an additional $8 million in assistance. And this weekend, a Canadian team was on the ground with the Caribbean and assessing what more Canada can do. Thank you.
I get that it's a devastating thing that took place, but man, we got our own
Mauricio
devastation
Zanetti
here.
runs a Canadian-owned company that's doing everything right, feeding families, employing Canadians, and doing whatever he can to keep affordable food on our tables. But thanks to the Liberals' new front of packaging labeling rules, regulations that have nothing to do with food safety, he's now facing a $2.2 million compliance bill. Across the industry, the cost will top $100 million, and prices are going to rise, and contracts are being canceled, all because of red tape politics. So the Prime Minister, will he stop trying to engineer a costly election on a costly budget and instead scrap the costly labeling tax?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, imaginary tax after imaginary tax after imaginary tax. But when the Conservatives had the chance to stand up for families, whether it was to vote for school food programs, whether it's to vote for tax cuts for Canadians, whether it's to vote in the skilled trades training that provides those great paying jobs, I sure hope they're not going to vote against personal support workers' tax credits. But that's what it's looking like, Mr. Speaker. They're lining up to vote against what the things that Canadians need. They're driving for a Christmas election. It's so obvious. Mr. Speaker, when are they going to stand with Canadians?
The Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
The NDP secured $4.3 billion in funding to address urgent unmet housing needs for Indigenous, Inuit, and Métis peoples living away from their home community. And NICHI, a national Indigenous-led organization, helped deliver that interim funding without a hitch. Many shovel-ready projects are desperate for the $4 billion long-term funding to flow, and with winter fast approaching, another construction season will be missed. Will the Prime Minister just let Indigenous Services task NICHI to get the funding out the door, or are they going to re-announce the $4 billion and pretend it's new funding in Budget 2025?
Okay. So right now we're seeing the NDP not happy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Generations of
current spending
underinvestment
already.
and systemic discrimination have created a
Which means that they're
serious
probably
shortage of
gonna vote
safe,
against the
affordable
budget.
housing and supports for Indigenous peoples across Canada. Build Canada Homes will help address this by financing affordable housing at scale across the housing continuum in collaboration with provinces, territories, and Indigenous partners. It offers flexible incentives to support non-market and Indigenous housing providers to build the affordable housing people need. Build Canada Homes is actively engaged with Indigenous governments, provinces, territories, and builders to identify early and shovel-ready
Alors, ça met fin à la période des questions.
That concludes question period.
Thank goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow's the big day. Tomorrow, you're going to have to set some time aside because we got a big stream. Huge stream. We're going to be streaming for probably many hours tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss it. All I ask in return is for you guys to hit the like button on streams like this, on videos. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single video or a live stream. And we'll see you same time tomorrow. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be a long one. Hope you guys are ready. Peace and love.